Welcome to Watching Dead, the officially unofficial podcast for The Walking Dead on AMC. I'm Jim.
I'm Aaron.
And today we're talking about Season 9, Episode 5, titled What Comes After. I assume they're talking about what comes after Rick Grimes in this episode?
Yeah. You got BG and AG. Before Grimes, after Grimes in the series.
Oh, yeah.
And there wasn't any BG. He was time immemorial, but now he's gone? Question mark?
Yeah, to probably come back later, I assume.
I did not. I thought for some reason, I'd got it in my head that Rick, I knew that he was going to exit the show. I mean, that was the big rumor going into the season. And I was plugged in enough to The Walking Dead to know about that. And I really thought that he would go out and the finale, the mid-season finale, right?
Yeah.
If not the season finale. So I was genuinely shocked when I thought they were going to pull some miraculous escape and then he'd die in some kind of mundane way or from it. I don't even really know what was going to happen. Did you kind of have the similar kind of like dawning realization of holy shit, they're going to kill Rick Grimes here? Because they're pulling out all the stops with guest stars and whatnot.
Yeah, and this is maybe the most Walking Dead way it could have gone is to pull the punch at the end. Like, pull out all the stops and say something big is coming and then not actually do it.
And it's not quite a Glenn dumpster fire because they're like that. If it was the same as a Glenn dumpster fire, that he would have gotten blown off the bridge and then we wouldn't see him for another season and a half.
Yeah. And
then he comes back and, he's chilling with Jadis and Trash Heap 2.0. But this, it's like at least they, I thought because my first thought when the bridge blew is like, I'm not sure he's within that blast range the way they staged this. But, it's The Walking Dead. Who the fuck knows? And then when I saw, him at the side of the riverbank, I'm like, But yeah, I thought that this was a very powerful and effective episode by Walking Dead standards. And then we got to that and like, I don't know. It's just... it's a little act of cowardice there, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, I mostly thought this episode was good. All the things like bringing back Shane and Sasha and all those characters, Herschel, all that stuff really worked for me. The stuff that didn't work is this is a Nicotero based directed episode rather. And so a lot of the things like day and night not lining up are sort of symptomatic here in this episode. It's not the day and night stuff, but it's like, where are people? How do they communicate? How do they get to places? Things like that just don't fucking line up. And then I don't know if Rick has like brain trauma along with his rebar injury or if he's just bleeding out and he can't think straight, but doesn't he do exactly what he didn't want to do? What he said would actually destroy the entire community that he's trying to build here?
Yeah, there's a line where he realizes if the herd gets across this bridge, they're going straight to Hilltop. And I think it's more of like the bridge is not worth more than the hilltop, and we need to take. It's like this supreme sacrifice of himself and his vision. Yeah,
he said exactly. I'm not going to lead them toward the bridge. I can't let that happen.
That's the thing. It's like that's the Nicotero magic. Like he's got this him fading in and out of consciousness and kind of warping around. And like I think that Rick, when he woke up in the labor camp, he was like, "Oh shit, I can't believe I'm here."
Yeah.
Like I did the exact wrong thing. So yeah, I don't know. It was a little messy, and it is weird that like it seems weird this. Usually that's a hero decision where it's like you sacrifice your own life or you're the keep alive the dream, you know? And Rick does both. He sacrifices his own life and his dream of a better future in one fell swoop in one act. But it's funny because I was just thinking the whole time when I started realizing, oh God, this is Rick's death episode. It's like, man, this is exactly what they do to everybody that dies. It's just so much more impactful when you have the actual history there.
Right.
And when you can bring like John Bernthal, who's just clearly delighted to be sharing the screen, with Andy Lincoln again. Like they're just having so much fun resurrecting that chemistry, and he's getting in his old "Let me ask you something, Rick."
And I was too, man. I was wrapped up in that scene.
Yeah, and Herschel and like fucking Paradise Farm, like it's the that generated real emotion because I really like those characters, and calling back to the whole Shane versus Rick philosophy. Yeah. Like that they have so much history to pull from this character that it like. And I also think that honestly taking 2 years off of the show helped too, because I wasn't freshly angry about all the bullshit that we've gone before. So I was just able to have this time with one of my favorite characters, and a really good actor, getting a send off that he deserves. Except for, I don't know if he deserves to be still somewhat chained to this property, but
yeah. I mean, he gets sent off, but not to the great beyond. He's sent off to wherever the hell that helicopter goes.
Yeah, and it's too damn bad because I do feel like there are fresh signs of life to this show. And also the other thing that gives the flash forward at the end here has a lot of promise and potential too. Like, what would you skip another 3-4 years into the future?
It's got to be like 6. I'm assuming it's like 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, Judith could be anywhere between 5 and 9. I'm not really good at placing, especially Hollywood kids' age, but if she's 5, then maybe they just went for 2 or 3 years. But she's 9. Holy shit, we've gone through an epoch.
Yeah.
And it's an interesting place to fridge the governor, or I'm not sorry, the governor, the Negan.
Sure.
Because I thought that was kind of an interesting place to put him, and then we're going to skip forward X amount of years, and what's that going to do? What's that going to continue to do to his trajectory? There's a lot of interesting stuff ahead, and it's a damn shame that they broke Andrew Lincoln before the season, and I guess he wanted out. Yeah. Although it's funny because I remember when I worked with Jason, our friend Jason Kabasi over at the Walking Dead cast. I worked with him on the last season for Legion, and when we were doing our preseason prep, I asked him, it's like, so how did the death of Rick Grimes go? And he goes, is he dead? And I'm like, you're kidding me. And he's like, no. And I'm like, oh my God. I couldn't believe that it would be they'd Glenn Rick, but
yeah, because wasn't the whole advertising campaign around this season Rick's gone, Rick's done.
The end of Rick. Yeah. And I mean, as far as his involvement in the show, I'm sure it is. I'm sure that they're if they, I heard rumors. I don't know if this is true, that they were thinking of bringing him back for some kind of special movie deal, kind of like X-Files type season 5-6 deal.
Yeah.
I don't know what became of that or what, but or maybe he just needs a couple years off and he can come back later as some kind of fucked up trash person. I was thinking of him dressed like I don't know, Pinhead from Hellraiser.
Sure.
Nipples pierced. Jadis has got him in a leash or a collar with a leash tied to it, and he's licking her boots. I don't know, crazy shit.
Yeah, what has Andrew Lincoln been doing since this scene?
Sleeping on his piles of money, I hope, in air conditioned bliss. In some posh apartment in London, because fuck the Atlanta or the Georgia heat and humidity.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I haven't actually followed his career. So
okay.
I guess we should talk about this episode. But before we do, we have a few notes of housekeeping. Jim and I have been hard at work on The Walking Dead and other projects around Bald Move, and it's the middle of the summer. We're going to take a little time off, so we will not be here with the Walking Dead episode next week, but we thought we could keep the hits rolling. We were looking at some up-and-coming podcasters, and I don't know, Jim, who'd we tell the people what we're doing here?
People probably haven't heard of them, because I think they've only done one podcast, but it's a duo called Al and Joe. And we were listening around to shows, and they seem like they haven't come back for Riverdale, but their first season of Raw Raw Riverdale was actually pretty good. I really only listened to the first episode of it.
Super highly rated on iTunes too.
Yeah, 100
the
something
fans
reviews,
love
4.7. It's
solid.
Apparently pretty good. So Al and Joe are going to be taking over this podcast next week and reviewing season 9, episode 6, and then we'll be back for the following episode.
Yeah, without missing a beat. So just want to let everyone know that's happened next week. So if you hear some different voices, don't be alarmed. We'll be back for 907 to take us into this mid-season break.
All right, let's get into the recap. We start off with Rick and Morgan, I guess, telling him to wake up from his coma and his rebar injury. We've got this weird flashback thing going, or this dream state, I guess, which is like mixed with flashbacks. So he's in a coma. He's also on the rebar. He's passed out in both, and he's telling himself to wake up as the walkers close in the real world. And then Rick uses his belt to pull himself off the rebar and crawls over to his horse to make a very slow getaway. His getaway, of course, being to lead. I guess I'm amazed by his dedication to the mission. You know, he's actively bleeding out. He jumps on his horse and then he saunters away.
Yeah, saunters.
Yeah, to try and lead the walkers, you know.
Yeah. And I thought this is pretty good. You know, like if he paid a heavy price, like they did a pretty good job staging the zombies to where they were far enough away that I kind of believed that he would have time to lever himself off like this. I also like him using his belt to get the extra leverage to pull himself off that rebar. I also thought they were going to do the trick where like he gets almost off and it falls back, but no, like he just re-impales himself. But the one stick of rebar through his guts enough. And I thought that was good. I also really like this dream imagery of him winding back in the hospital, like where this all began. I thought some of that True Detective bird work was pretty good, but then when it dissolved the helicopters, like the effects on this show are all over the place. Like the zombies are always top notch, but some of these digital effects are very, very late 90s syndicated television. Oh, yeah. And it's not just this, but like that swarm of choppers was a very cool concept. They just didn't have they didn't have the, I don't know, the modeling for it or whatever.
What are they trying to get at with that? The choppers, because Rick hasn't been taken on the choppers. Is this a premonition, or is this from seeing a chopper previously and that's been sort of subconsciously in his mind?
No, that's been one of the enduring mysteries of the show, right? You know, like what the fuck, where was this chopper, where was it going, et cetera, and now you're getting a little bit of hints and clarity on this, but I don't know, man. I think that I sometimes think they overestimated the appeal of the chopper, and how desperate people were to get the answer to what it is and what it's doing.
There's one guy who didn't overestimate it, and it's Norman Reedus. He knows all about choppers.
That's right. He likes riding them, likes turn them into post-apocalyptic death machines. All around cool dude.
I really thought when he started to take his belt off, he was thinking, if I'm gonna die with my pants off. Like I had no idea what he was doing when he pulled that belt.
But yeah, as far as his sauntering, I also thought it was interesting because like it seems like he can't gallop very far. Like his internal injuries are such that like he just can't sustain it. So like you have this very slow moving chase, and that's an effective setup for the rest of the episode. You know, like the fact that he can get just far enough to get a little bit of rest and find something, a bandage or something before someone screams wake up at him. And I thought that was a nice little continuing callback concept. And it's for a character I care about. So like, I don't mind a little bit of, belaboring the point a bit when it comes to Rick Grimes. You can take your time with him, like this is essentially a fucking episode long cliffhanger. And I was there for it.
All right, next scene, Jadis tries to start her very best junkyard car, but it's a piece of shit. It doesn't work. The guy on the walkie calls, and she gives him their location and claims she has an A ready for evacuation.
It turns out, I think, we don't know what A and B mean.
No, I still have no idea.
Yeah. I thought A was alpha, B is beta, something like that. But your Rick Grimes is not a B, and
Gabriel is not an A.
Is not an A. So I'm really confused, and I wonder if they'll ever pay any of this stuff off. These post-apocalyptic helicopter cults.
I assume they will. They have to, right? But they also can't go over to Rick on that end, can they?
Man,
if
I don't
Andrew
know.
Lincoln is not going to be on this show, how do they go over to the place where he's being held without showing him?
I mean, they can if they get to that point and they still haven't, got the movie or deal, or Andrews told him to fuck off, then I guess he just dies in transport. Like he just didn't survive it. He's got a pretty grievous wound. That's
You're saying they're not going to show any of this? You don't think they're going to show that community at all wherever Rick goes for at least
here's
2
the thing.
seasons?
I don't know anything about this. It could it's entirely possible that throughout this whole season we're going to get 5 minutes of Rick in helicopter land. I don't know. I have no idea whether he appears at all post episode 905, or does he cut off at 908 or whatever. So I don't know. But my thought was we just won't see Rick for a good long time, and if we go back and re-meet up with Jadis or this helicopter cult, she could just be well, the other thing is none of the crew know that he's dead or know that he lived and is kidnapped by this helicopter, right?
Right.
So if they go and we find a helicopter cult and this Jadis is never around, or they mentioned that Jadis was punished for whatever, that'd be kind of wild to never follow that up, but it'd be entirely plausible in storytelling because the Alexandrians wouldn't know to ask. Right. And the helicopter cult people wouldn't know the significance. So
sure,
that would be kind of wild as a fan to see that.
Jadis wouldn't tell them because Jadis goes with them, which is weird. Does she leave Gabriel in the trunk of her car? Where's Gabriel?
I don't know where Gabriel's at.
They don't show him ever.
No, this whole episode, I thought maybe he would be running in with the survivors at some point.
Well, she's supposed to be transporting him, right, to whatever drop-off location.
See, I thought that the jig was that she said she had an A and she doesn't have an A, so she was going to try to do some running and gunning to try to get into that chopper. So last I know, he was at the junkyard.
Okay, so he's probably
perfectly
still at the
fine.
junkyard.
Yeah. I don't think he's tied up or anything. I just think he's at the junkyard, probably walking his happy ass back to Alexandria.
All right. So Rick continues to lead the walkers away from the bridge, even though he's actively bleeding out. And there's a lot of those scenes of Rick dying on a horse slowly.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we need to talk about them all. So.
No, it's neat. I recognized all the locations the first time I saw them. There's the green farm. There's Rick's hospital bed. There's the flipped car that was where they had to shoot out the start of this whole thing. And it's also he got shot in the exact same place that he got rebarred.
Huh.
So it also made sense that in his kind of dazed state that some of these memories would start running together. I felt like there's a little bit more to the hokey kind of near death stuff than there usually is and stuff like this. He's going through an almost identical experience, and also kind of ironic the way he ended up with the nose tube in his, the oxygen tube in his nose. And that's kind of how we found him in this series. And it's where we're leaving him in the series, I think. So I thought that was structurally pretty cool, especially for the show.
Mm-hmm. All right, Maggie and Substantial Bow Girl encounter a walker, and they eat up a good bit of screen time smashing it.
Yeah.
Just showing, Maggie's angry. We know.
Yep.
She's been angry for a while.
The widow out for revenge.
Then we get another scene of Rick dying on a horse. This time he finds a house, and he goes in and tries to squeeze his guts closed with a dirty rag, and then passes out again.
And there's a lot of there's a weird focus on this deer head, to the point where I was wondering, is it going to start talking to him, or is he going to do some kind of crazy puppet show with the deer head out a window to get the zombies excited about it and then go out the back? But nah, the deer head doesn't pay off at all.
I don't know that he could lift a deer head in his current state.
Yeah,
but that would have been hilarious.
There's also this weird thing where what is this? The third dozen weird post-apocalyptic double murder suicide scene we've seen in this show, and no one even comments on it. It's just, fuck. There's a big sign outside that says "fuck around and find out." There's two dudes, skeletonized dudes with guns in their hands, and there's bullet holes all over. I don't know. They had the harsh Georgian winter broke them, and they started shooting.
Yeah, I mean, I liked seeing that they were completely decomposed. Essentially,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
just bare skeletons, which makes you, question what kind of sustainability traits the walkers have. Like what is
Mm-hmm.
keeping them upright and moving around with skin on their bones.
The zombie virus. It's a hell of a drug.
Yeah. So Rick shares a burger with Shane at the scene of the incident that put him in the coma at the beginning of the series. And Shane taunts him about Judith being his baby and takes full credit for turning Rick into an asshole.
He deserves a big share of it for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. At least asshole enough to kill Shane. And Shane encourages Rick to be an asshole to defend his new community. And he wakes up
Yeah.
just in time to avoid having his face gnawed by walkers and manages to escape.
Man, when they're going back and forth, I was taunting each other about physical attributes. I was getting visibly excited, and then when Bernthal said, "At least you don't got my ears," hallelujah, hallelujah! Some self-awareness on the walkie. Like his Shane's lobes of fury have been an ongoing source of fascination on this show, and I fucking love it. I fucking love it. It was so good, and I just really like seeing John and Andrew here doing this buddy cop stuff. It was a really cool scene.
I think it's better for the time between the scenes. Like we haven't seen Shane in so long that it's such a fresh breath of air to see him back. But also, I think he's a better actor now.
Oh yeah,
he's been in so many other things. And I remember, I remember liking the stuff he was doing in early Walking Dead, but not to this degree.
Yeah. And it's clear they're having a lot of fun. It's a good moment. It's it's a moment with a lot of history, not just between the characters and the audience, but also between. I know that they had a real kind of brotherly camaraderie in the early goings of Walking Dead. So it was nice. It was nice. I'm glad that they got all these guys and gals to come back, and it really made this episode a lot more special than it would have been otherwise.
Absolutely. And I also really love another thing in this scene, which is the transition from Shane to the walker, where Shane kind of leans in for the bite, and then Rick snaps awake, and the walker's right there trying to bite him.
And I feel like they do that. They do that too at the Herschel scene, which I thought was interesting. We'll get there we'll talk about that when we get there. But they did, the transitions and how they seamlessly blend the death visions with like what's actually going on around them. I thought top notch.
Yeah, really makes you feel like he's in a daze, just barely conscious of his surroundings.
Yep.
All right, Michonne and Judith play with shells, and a guy comes up and tells Michonne that Maggie has arrived. Maggie wants to kill Negan, but Michonne is literally standing in her way, and so they have to talk it out. Maggie says she can't live with Glenn's murderer alive, but Michonne has no answers for her, and so she hands over the keys to Maggie, to Negan's cell, and instead of killing Negan, Maggie lets him talk and eventually realizes that he's living a fate worse than death, so she spares him. And then Substantial Bow Girl comes up and says something's happening at the camp, which I'm not even sure how they knew that, but okay.
Yeah. A couple things here. I really like Little Ass Kicker, Little Judith, when there's this interesting tonal clash where clearly the Alexandrian Guard and Michonne are worried about Maggie showing up, but Judith is like, Aunt Maggie, and I thought that was really cute. And Maggie squaring off against Michonne was a real moment, and I'm like, man, I wonder how this is going to go down, because I don't think Maggie can take Michonne. But I also don't know if Michonne's got it in her to cut Maggie down, especially for Negan. And it's a pretty long talky scene, but I thought it was all good. Like this is essentially all the things that's led up all sides kind of being represented about like, well, this is why we did it. Well, it was dumb. It wasn't Rick's call. Well, it's already, no, you're right. But the call was made and now we're here. And the way it resolved, where it's like where Michonne just kind of trusted Maggie to like, well, okay, the stakes. You love this community as much as I do. Rick's not here. Here's the keys. Do what you got to do. And I wonder how much Michonne knew that it would go this way, because this was on the back of Michonne having her little private audience with Negan.
Yeah.
So I wonder if she thought that Maggie would come to the same conclusion as she did. But I also thought either way it was a nice moment of faith, because also can you imagine like Rick coming home and finding out that Michonne just get handed her the keys? Like that would have been a real rift in their relationship probably. So yeah, it was good stuff. What did you think about Maggie and I keep on wanting to say he's the governor. Maggie and Negan.
So I like it. I think it makes a certain amount of sense. If killing Negan is just going to, well, okay, so I guess I don't know exactly where she comes down on this. She says something at the end that's like, not this is what you deserve and I want you to suffer more, but like you've already suffered.
Yeah, you're already worse than dead.
The debt is repaid, right? Like I don't need to kill you because this has happened to you, but she lets him go on that way in perpetuity. So I don't know if she's like, oh, the continued justice of having him living in hell is what I'm after, or if I've already gotten what I'm after and I just don't care about this anymore.
I think it's like, that like this is a fate worse than death for Negan. Negan's eager. In fact, Negan wants her to kill him. He's doing everything he can to like, goad her into doing that, taunting her over how much he enjoyed killing Glenn, taunting her over like, her position in the society, like, telling that it's like, I enjoy killing, get your justice. Don't punk out like Rick did. Like just really trying everything. And she kind of realizes that just the way Michonne did, like, oh my God, this is what he wants. This is what he wants. And why give him that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now the problem, I guess, is are they just going to have like a line like of people that want to kill Negan and they go in and they like, does everyone like at what point do people just trust that like, oh, Negan's actually being appropriately punished? I don't know, because like the rest of the community, there's a lot of like Daryl. Is Daryl going to go along with this? Like Jesus, I think so the original three co-conspirators were Jesus, Maggie, and Daryl. 2 out of 3, I think, are satisfied that justice has been done. Now that Rick has, Daryl's the wild card, because now that Rick is apparently dead, like, what's going to stop him? Because, like, I don't think Daryl gives as much shits about, although I don't know, because, like, Daryl, this would be a fate worse than death for Daryl, too, and I think he kind of intuitively understands that.
Yeah, to be a caged wildcat.
And maybe that's where he comes down. It's like, this is actually not humane. It's actually better to just, give him a quick death and move on, instead of like keeping this fucking altar to misery in the heart of our community.
Yeah. I feel like they need to go find that bat.
Yeah. They need to they can't just leave it, because like I'm just telling you, man, if they don't find a bat before the end of the season, we're going to see a scene of him going out there and retrieving it in some kind of thunderstorm situation.
Lightning striking it, him becoming like a super powered out of Frankenstein kind of creature.
Yeah. Just get some bolts sticking out of his neck. He's already got all the leather.
Got the patchy hair. He's like scratching his head or something and like pulling hairs out of the side.
You can't leave Negan's prized weapon just out there for grabs for anybody. Because the other thing is like, that's all Negan's, like, one of his lieutenants would need to lead a band of resistance. Like, I have Lucille, I am the new Negan, we are Negan. That was already the cult anyway. Yeah. Like, God, it seems so stupid to leave it out there. I hope that they're lying about that. I hope that was just something Michonne said to torment the torment Negan. I keep on calling him the governor. Damn.
Yeah.
And also, are you surprised that Negan's this broken? Because when Maggie got him out of the cell, I'm like, oh, he's gonna try something with Maggie. He's got nothing to lose. He's gonna try to grab her crowbar or something. But he's so broken that he just meekly accepts the order to go back in the cell and lock it.
Yeah. No, it was a little surprising. I think, the hunger strike that he was on was probably a good thing here, because I kept feeling like he's a big guy. I don't think he could take Maggie in his current state, though, because
he is really broken down.
Yeah, he's not been eating. He's got to be malnourished, and he hasn't been moving around a lot. So
he looks very old now that he's growing a beard out, and it's like Snow White. He's all fucked up. He's got that big scar on the side of his head. He's not the monster that was hydraulically bouncing up and down over Glenn as he beat his brains out. He's just kind of broken old man, and I'm glad we did get a little bit of scenes to show that, because otherwise this would have been like whiplash.
No, they definitely did like just enough to tell me that Negan was not in any condition to fight back here.
Yeah, plus he's been like he's been in here for like over at least a year, because Maggie said it's been a year and a half since Glenn got his brains beat out. I think that timeline tracks, so he's probably been in prison for a year now. Just wasting away, watching the rest of the world move on. So I think they did enough that it all checked out. I bought it.
Yeah. Okay. This next set of scenes is kind of tough to call a cutoff point on.
Well, before we do that, because you mentioned about this, we should talk about this too. How did they know that something was going on to camp?
Yeah.
My only because like, where the fuck did Daryl go? Like, Rick and Daryl were right there before Rick got rebarred. And he had his motorcycle.
Where was he heading at the end of last episode? He was headed off to, Alexandria, maybe?
That's what I'm saying. Like, I'm guessing that Daryl finally made it back and said, oh my God, Rick, there's something crazy's happening. Rick's trying to save the bridge, blah, blah, blah. And that's how they knew to come. But
why would they think it was at the camp? Like, he said specifically, I'm not going to lead them to the bridge.
Yeah, I think they could have used a scene where like literally Daryl rides up and says, "Oh my God, something going on with Rick, you gotta come," and they could have just left it kind of nebulous. But it's weird, this like kind of game of post-apocalyptic telephone they're playing. It was a little messy.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, stop me if you want to talk about any of this stuff, because there's a lot to talk about, and it's a big scene or series of scenes. So Rick continues to die on his horse as he flashes back to Herschel's farm. He and Herschel talk about the goal of building this new society and finding his family. And Herschel tells him to wake up. And maybe we could break here because he wakes up for like 1.7 seconds.
Yeah, no. I like this scene. They got Scott Wilson back. Scott Wilson's always been one of the really good, calming, like forces for good characters on the show. He's name checked in every damn season. Like Maggie, always like that's kind of her North Star. Moral compass. Like after Jeffrey DeMunn died, I can't even remember what the hell that guy's name was. Like he for a long time was kind of the moral compass of the show. Dale. And then you got Herschel, and I like that he kind of came back and he's in his clean cut farmer days, and he's living on this beautiful like paradise version of the farm. And it's good. I'd like him talking about Rick apologizing for failing Maggie, and he's like, my girl's strong. And my grandson's just going to make her that much stronger. And Rick worrying about keeping his family together, and Herschel saying you don't need to do that, son. Like it's a really good scene. And I don't know, I was kind of got a little bit of a father figure from the way Scott played Herschel to Rick, and felt like that's what Rick needed to hear in this moment in between death visions.
Yeah. It was excellent. I really enjoy Scott Wilson. So
yeah, they did this weird thing where like Herschel touched his wound when he said wake up, and then when Rick was on they actually had that hand still on him in real life.
Huh. Okay.
And it wasn't a zombie hand. It wasn't Andrew Lincoln's bloody hand. It was like them then playing again with breaking the boundaries of what's real and not real. And I kind of came down on the side of I thought it was cool.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, like I said, he wakes up, but then quickly passes out again and flashes back to the hospital from the beginning of the series. And he opens the "Don't Dead Open Inside" doors, which now just say "Dead Open Inside." And he finds a field of dead bodies, which include Daryl and Beth, Doodlebug, Maggie, Sasha.
So many.
Yeah, like basically everyone he knows, I think, is in that group. And Sasha gets up and tells Rick to be okay with whatever happens because he did his part, just like everyone did. And that's really all he needed to do. And then she says, "Wake up."
Yeah.
Cut again. Do you want to talk about this?
No, I decided this was. I've talked about the shoddy effects work, but I thought this was not quite solid and real, but did what it needed to do. I thought this world of corpses was a very interesting visual, and and then it contrasted with what Sasha was saying about like, you worry about like, the good people dying, the dead people dying, and whether it all evens out in the end. It doesn't just even out. It all balances to the good, towards the good and the brave. And I fucking want to believe that. Mm-hmm. So I thought it was another pretty powerful moment for the show. You got a joke though? I can tell.
It felt to me like the world's most horrific like Matrix loading screen. Like they're booting into a program here, and they're just like, "Oops, I summoned the bodies instead of the guns."
Yeah, or like the world's ultimate dead baby joke, like
right.
What's grosser and gross? What's gross? A giant world-side field of corpses. What's grosser and gross? Rick Grimes cleaning it up with a snowblower.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it's fun. Like, Where's Waldo? Because I'm pretty sure you can they composited just about everybody in there. Some people were turned, their faces were turned away, so you couldn't quite tell. But I thought I saw Abraham even in there.
I'm gonna assume that is not actually Beth because they don't show her face.
Probably not. Yeah, and also it's like some people that we are still alive were also like Daryl was laying there dead. So it's not like this is everyone's dead. This is just like everyone that Rick fears to lose, I guess. And probably even I thought I saw a couple of the people he's personally killed there too. So it's not just even just the friends we've lost along the way. It's just all the death that he's seen and fears to see. And I thought it was pretty powerful visual metaphor.
Yeah, so then he does wake up. He falls off his horse at the camp, and the horse runs off, stranding him. The walkers close in, but a group of survivors, including Michonne, shows up just in time to save him. And Michonne tells Rick not to die. Unfortunately, that was all a dream. And I remember thinking, how did everyone get here? Because where was everybody? Did they all kind of communicate and posse up at some place and then
they must have rallied at Alexandria. Yeah,
and I was thinking it's so fucking weird. I don't know if this is possible. And then they reveal it's a dream, and I'm like, okay, great. But then
it happens exactly the same.
But times 10. Like Jesus is there. How the fuck did Jesus get here? Is this camp equidistant from every single other community?
Well, I wonder if how did Jesus leave things with Maggie? Because he knew what she was going to do at Alexandria. I wonder if he's like a half hour after he left or whatever was like, maybe we ought to go over to Alexandria because all hell could be breaking loose. We might need to save Maggie from a mob. We might need to save a mob from Maggie. We might need to do so. Like, I guess, but you're right. It's very sloppy Joe.
No, everyone's there. Everyone.
It also, I think, kind of suits Greg and Nicotero's style because Greg doesn't give a fuck. So, like, having a kind of a messy script where a guy's fading in and out of consciousness and he's essentially being... Because I made sense of him being at the camp because I'm at the horse, if your rider passes out, the horse just kind of goes on autopilot. Mm-hmm. Like I remember I used to know the sheriff in a northern Indiana town talk about like pulling over Amish. They're just passed out drunk in their buggies. And the horse is just taking him home from the bar because it knows the way, right? The horse doesn't know about stop signs and stoplights, which is why he got pulled over and arrested. But if Rick passes out, the horse is going to be like, fuck, I don't know. I'll either go to the hilltop or the camp, I guess. And he took him to the camp, which was the wrong place. But that all made sense too. But like I said, this weird story kind of suited Nicotero's directing style, which is avant-garde, non-linear.
Avant disregard. Yeah, so it's a dream. He wakes up long enough to lead the walkers across the bridge that is built, unfortunately, too strong to crumble under their weight. And the survivors show up for real this time, every single one of them, all at the same time in a big group, and try to save Rick as the herd closes in. Rick decides to blow the bridge with dynamite, killing himself in the process. Or apparently killing himself.
Yeah. Making a good show for the rest of Alexandrians because I think everyone there thought, oh, well, that's Rick Grimes.
I was impressed that he was still a crack shot when he's been bleeding out for hours.
Yeah, I think that's because I was wondering, like, why not just step back 30 feet? But then I was thinking, like, that's it's a pretty heavy gun with a lot of recoil. He's barely able to lift it up to like snap shots at point blank zombies. I don't think he could make that shot from like 50 feet.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, it's one of the rare things where like, goddamn, The Walking Dead paid attention to the staging and the set and the terrain, and like everything that was happening kind of made sense from
except for everyone
how it was
showing up.
developed. Yeah.
I don't know how everyone gets together in one single group and shows up all at the same time.
Yeah, Sloppy Joe, you're right about that. And they could have, 30 seconds of insert shots could have explained so much, because you want them all there. You want, if Rick Grimes going to die, you don't want it to be unwitnessed, right? You don't want to be like, oh wow, we found, we found the blown up bridge and no Rick Grimes. Like, what happened to him? You
then they'd
want
be
everyone
for him for 2 seasons.
Yeah, and also I think that this is going to be something that galvanizes. Like, Rick is going to become this messianic figure. Hell, he might even rise and return in their hour of need. But like all the beef between the communities and whether these sacrifices are worth it. How the fuck is Maggie going to act like she's going to piss all over Carl and Rick's project when they themselves paid the ultimate price for it? I don't think she can do it.
Sure.
So I think that's now it's going to be the hard. Well, that's the thing that's really irritating about the time jump forward is I was really into like Michonne writing up some articles of some town charter shit and like getting it debated and pushed through. I wanted to see some some 16th century policy working. I thought I was kind of geared up for it.
It's not the drama that this show trades in. This show trades in much cheaper drama.
But man, they could have pivoted to a little bit of Game of Thrones action with some wheeling and dealing and some betrayals, and you still have got the kind of nefarious savior complex that was gonna no one fully trusts and all that kind of stuff, because noticeably they're absent. They're I think it means something that you have representatives from the kingdom and the hilltop and
Quilted Mountain was there.
Quilted Mountain was there, right?
Ezekiel was there too. Yeah, he
was in the dream. I don't think he was in the actual one though. Was
he wasn't? Okay,
I don't think so. But you have representatives from all the communities except for Savior, unless Boston Rob is there, and I didn't see it. But I wonder if that's going to be. Yeah, I wonder if that's going to be the big dividing thing, that everyone's going to be on the same page except for the Saviors, and then what does that look like?
Yeah, I think you gave me my new favorite name for the sanctuary, which is the Savior Complex.
The Savior.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I never even thought of it, but
they collectively have one. Yeah. And they, there's a lot of stuff like the blood pouring out of Rick, because that's when I started like. Because I was still up until that point thinking, oh, he's going to figure out a way to get out of this and he'll die later on in the season. But like, God, I was like, man, this is some really bad shit. And the explode, I thought it was pretty good. You know what wasn't good? This water.
No.
This water is
so bad.
Xenia warrior princess shit. Hercules legendary journeys. It's some UPN fucking syndicated
it's worse
bullshit.
Than that, because like in Xena they would at least go to like the director's ranch and go to a creek, and they would film at the side of the creek. Here they just where are they filming? Like the LA aqueduct, like the LA river, and they just like CG in everything around it. It looked bad. It looked terrible.
The water effect itself was bad. It was composited poorly. Yep. It's just, and I don't understand. And this is the reason we quit watching the show. I don't understand why they're so fucking cheap. Why they're so fucking cheap on this show.
Yeah, every other show can do this, no problem.
You can make convincing water effects. You can composite them in the scene. They've been doing it for a long time, seamlessly. And
the worst part of it is that the ideas here were cool, like really cool. I love the visual, aside from the poor effects. I love the visual of all these walkers walking through this fire and then just water falling into the river.
Yeah, that was super cool.
Very cool. But it's spoiled by bad effects.
Yeah, it really was the fly in the ointment. Yeah. Horse fly, big fly. Wasn't something you can't not notice.
And then the fly in the ointment of this episode is the next scene, where Jadis sees the aftermath of the bridge explosion and hears radio chatter. We realize that every tear shed for Rick as he was torn apart in the bridge explosion was misplaced, as Trash Lady sees Rick washed up on the banks of the river and decides to call him in as a B instead of double-crossing the people in the chopper. They agree to the deal, and Rick wakes up in a helicopter to see an untrustworthy trash monster claiming that he's safe now. And they fly off into the sunset. This is the worst fate for Rick, right? I mean, the last couple of episodes have been spent saying how much Jadis realizes Rick doesn't trust her, and how there's this weird arrangement she has with this helicopter crew, and I just feel like Rick is going to be in a bad place going forward.
You're not wrong. And also, man, there were some cool moments, like Michonne desperately last of the Mohicaning to try to get to Rick's side to save him, running through the forest. Like, there was some genuine moments, and like watching Michonne lose her fucking mind, and Maggie and Carol, two other characters we have a massive amount of history with, holding her back, and like even Daryl being on the verge of tears, like, was really fucking powerful stuff. And then Rick flies off in a dumpster with the trash lady.
This time jump, which I don't know, we can talk about in a second, but this time jump really puts a damper on that whole emotional note of the ending of this episode, because we don't get to see the reaction, the longer term, short term, but longer term than just initial shock of Maggie reacting to Rick's death. We don't get to see how it's going to affect Daryl unless they're still being affected by it 6 years later or whatever.
Yeah, man, it seems like I haven't seen the rest of the season, obviously, but it seems like a tactical error to not spend 3 episodes to get into the, do the time jump at the end of episode 908 and give your characters for fucking once in their life a chance to like grieve. You can't give a couple episodes to get everyone's reaction to losing Rick Grimes. Like, we have to fast forward the plot because can't dwell on it.
Man, if I were in the writer's room, absolutely not. You can't go away from this moment. This is the drama.
Yeah.
This is the drama you've been building to for how long have Rick and Michonne been together? How long have Rick and Daryl been together? I mean, 10 seasons, 9 seasons at this point. You've been building this. You got to stay in it for at least a while.
Because, like, also you set some stakes here. Like, Michonne was fighting her own battle for, like, what's worth living, and she'd found, like, she was like teetering into like becoming Negan last episode, and now you're just going to cut away from this massive thing that's happened to her. Like, how does she find the strength to live for Judith? How does she find the strength to continue to do this community project that she's invested in? Like, there's so many interesting things, and it's just like, from a storytelling perspective, why you'd want to yada through like all these old friends and comrades, like drinking to Rick Grimes, telling Rick Grimes stories. Like, we need that and not only was it believable for an audience, but for the characters themselves, but as an audience, who says no to like 45 minutes of our favorite characters reminiscing about the death of this important and influential leader? Like, damn.
Right. No, it feels like this is Walking Dead just doesn't know how to handle those moments, and so they skip right past them.
Yeah. And I guess I'd rather them do that than do a shit job at it.
Sure.
Because that would be infuriating. So maybe they're just like, fuck it, play to the strengths. Let's just keep it light and breezy, keep the zombies ZZ, and but that's the other thing is like, this big of a time jump. Zombies were already in pretty poor shape. What the hell do zombies look like 4 years later, or 5 years later, or 6?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, zombies should be getting to their extinction point, I would think. Like, they're going to be stationary dangers, if that. But no, there's still massive herds.
Yeah,
that can menace.
Let's move on to that scene.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about, because I got some things to say about it.
Okay, this is the last one. I'll make it quick. There are a pack of random survivors fighting off a bunch of walkers with no weapons to speak of. They're saved by a child with a gun that's claiming to be Judith Grimes. A gun that's taller than she is. Like, this where did she get Rick Grimes? Where did she get his revolver? That's what I want to know.
That's a good
Did
question.
he get blown out of his holster? And
yeah, it just
I guess it was in his hand at the time. So
yeah, so he went flying. The heavier gun stayed still. I could buy it. I'd buy it. And she's got the hat, the iconic hat. I'm here for that.
Yeah.
Do you think these dumb fucks are going to be major characters? Because I'm not impressed with a single one of them. Holy moly!
How did they survive? How have they lived this long with literally using sticks as weapons?
And I don't know, because I felt like that one thing the show did is like cast substantial people for big parts. Like I've never, like when Abraham and Sasha and Eugene showed up, like, Eugene was annoying, but because he was supposed to be, right?
Yeah.
That was kind of his character arc. And I just think of like the original cast they had. Of course, that's all Darabont, but these people look like C-tier characters from Fear the Walking Dead. In fact, when I saw this girl throwing this machete around, I'm like, is this literally the red machete girl? Is this the fucking extra tier actor that they brought in from like these little digital shorts that they forced into commercials? And I'm supposed to give it. I don't like
Maybe.
I don't know. Maybe I should give him some chance, but I didn't think they moved really well. I thought their battle tactics were goofy. I thought their banter was dumb. I don't like their faces.
They allowed themselves to get surrounded in an open field. These people seem too ill-equipped to deal with this challenge to have lasted this long.
But you're supposed to get this idea that this is like a Rick group calendar. Like this is Rick Grimes' group right before they happened upon Alexandria, I think.
Okay.
Like, they've lived a long time. Mm-hmm. What are their stories? Who are they? They're formidable. They've survived both zombies and crazy post-apocalyptic people to get to this point, and I just didn't buy it.
It's also starting to feel, as artificial as it felt 2 seasons ago or whatever to be introduced to a new group. It also it feels extra artificial now. It seems like it's a pattern within Walking Dead. Like, okay, we've resolved one thing. How are we ever going to get to anything interesting again? Oh, I know. Let's just have a new group of survivors join the mix and they cause problems. Like,
and you don't need it because we have whole communities that we don't even know.
Right.
Like, if I'm Substantial Bow Girl and I see this casting call go out for 6 new main characters, I'm like, fuck you. Or if I'm the Quilted Mountain that rides, I'm like, all you know about me is I'm kind of a goofy dude that likes axes and mixes my Shakespeare with my dude. Like, he's got a girlfriend now, maybe a wife. Can I get to know any of these people? Can I get to know the blacksmith before you need him to be in a like, if you keep on bringing all these new doofuses and ignore all the background, what the hell? I don't know. It's frustrating.
I don't want to know the blacksmith. The blacksmith seems like a dumbass to me.
Yeah. The guy that can't copy a plow from a book.
Yeah.
Gotta have the real thing. I think it's because I don't think he's going to copy it. I think he's just going to unbolt the steel thing, put it on 2 new sticks of wood, and take credit for it. Look at this thing I smithed. That took me 30 days. I'm going to have to take a break for this. Damn! I beat so many swords into this. My blacksmithing hand's worn out. I'm gonna have to go fishing for like 6 weeks to recharge. See ya. Have fun planting these crops, guys.
Yeah.
I'm with you. What a dick.
And that's it. So yeah, Rick's dead, not dead. Still on the show. Gonna come back however many years later. I don't know. We'll see.
I'm really going into the next episode, which, as we mentioned, we're leaving in Al and Joe's capable hands. I'm really interested in seeing what is going on with Negan, because him just being this crazy weak person in jail is not interesting. So they're gonna have to do something with him, I think.
Yeah.
How does Judith? Is Judith going to be like fun, or is she going to be like early season Carl, where she just exists to do stupid shit and not listen to their parents and show her parents being incapable of raising a person in an apocalypse and be annoying? Or is she going to be something like a legitimately cool, I want, Lucas's sister vibes from Stranger Things. I want a little person, or a little kid actor that actually is cool. And I admire, not one that makes me want to grit my teeth until my molars explode. I'm really curious to see, like, I feel like Maggie and Michonne are kind of now the de facto leaders of all the communities, and they've like gone through like a special, like, you know, there's a lot of trust and stuff forged in this episode between them. Not that they're needed a bunch before, but like, man, they got like each other's backs stacked deep. And there's there any other, like, a Daryl? The hell is Daryl? Daryl kind of walked off into the woods alone.
Yeah, I mean, Daryl is weird. He doesn't seem to want much to do with the new way of things, I guess. Like he doesn't want to be a leader. Like he tried to do that in Sanctuary. That's not Daryl. So
he doesn't want to be a farmer. Doesn't want to be a politician. Right. He just wants to be an outrider, you know?
I mean, I feel like he could go over to the Sanctuary and be pretty happy just working on his bikes all day. Got all the gas he wants.
Yeah.
But I don't know. We'll see what happens with him. The person I'm interested to see what happens with is Carol, because there was the proposal that was on the table, right, with Ezekiel. And I think 6 or so, like however many years on, we'll probably see that having, I don't know, taking place. They might be married.
Her and Ezekiel as king and queen of the kingdom would be pretty fucking sweet. And what does that even look like? Does she go along with it, or is she just like perpetually like, could you come? No, get off that Ezekiel. Come on, Come on.
It's got to be that.
You don't have a tiger anymore. You don't even have a tiger anymore. What is this king stuff? Be a mayor. Be a president. Just stop this. You don't need it anymore, man.
I want to see.
Does he keep that up in the bedroom?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to see her with some big gray dreads, like down to her ass.
Yes,
long white dreads.
That would be a fucking look, man. Yeah, that would be a striking couple on horseback coming at you.
Hell yeah. She can ride a black horse with those big long white dreads, and he can ride a white horse with his big black dreads.
That would be a satisfying arc to come back and like. Carol has now become this like elder stateswoman. She's at like kind of peace and secure with herself and her community. You know, she's been such a restless ghost for so many seasons. Like for her to end up like that,
definitely
nice.
with dreads.
With that, yeah. Okay. You can be You can be a formerly restless ghost with dreads for sure.
That's what I'm invested in. Like she can be whatever she wants to be with the dreads.
Okay, all right. I hear you. I'm on Team Carol dreads.
And you know, what does Substantial Bow Girl turn out to be? Does she pick up a crossbow? Does she pick up
Isn't Rosita still kicking around too?
Yeah, she's out there.
Is she like? She had like 15 seconds in this season. I wonder. Yeah, I wonder if she's kind of like in the process of slowly exiting the show.
Are they gonna rebuild that bridge?
I think they have to, right? Like they made it seem like if that bridge doesn't exist, like trade between the communities is impractical. Like it would take like a 3-day, 4-day odyssey to support. Which I don't know. That seems doable.
Yeah. What else you got going on?
You convoy up, and maybe it's not as convenient, but
Send
no,
the blacksmith. He's not doing anything.
Well, I need you to find me a bridge. You know, I'm gonna need you to find me preferably covered. Bring that thing back, and I'll see what I can do. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if it would be interesting to see Aaron and Daryl pair up. Like we've always, you know how like Aaron's original was like to scout out and find new survivors and stuff. I think him and Daryl would be really good at that. And
I thought you meant like pair up.
Oh no, I don't. Like I said, I'm kind of
pair up.
Like my current thinking in Daryl's, he's just like he's either through trauma or genetics asexual. I just don't think. You know, he's in any twinkle in his loins died with Doodlebug, unfortunately.
Fair. All right.
And Carol shacking up with the king. That broke him too. So
that's it. That's all I got.
Yeah. Again, we will not be back next week. Next week we'll have Al and Joe from the Rah Rah Riverdale, fabulous, spectacular Rah Rah Riverdale podcast. Check it out if you want to see their work going into next season. They're going to come back and do 906 right, and then we'll be back for 907, 908. Bring in the mid-season. Probably consider some feedback. See what people are thinking so far. But yeah, thanks for man. It feels like the end of an era, even though Andrew Lincoln and Rick Grimes are still alive and well at the end of this episode.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's a big.
And we're also like a year plus 2 years behind on this, so it's like a weird end of an era for us, but not for anybody else.
But this was a moment. Yeah. And there was some problems here and there, but overall, I think they did right by Andrew Lincoln. Mm-hmm. And I'm interested to see how the rest of the season goes. Send that feedback into Walking Dead at baldmove.com. They both work. We'll consider that feedback at a mid-season point. We'll be back in 2 weeks. Have fun with Al and Joe. Until next time, I'm Aaron.
And I'm Jim.
Later.